Hey everybody, this is the second podcast. We're still not sure what to call it. Maybe we'll just call it the Bunker Podcast. But anyway, it'll be online and you'll see what it's called. Anyway, here we are, live from the bunker in beautiful downtown Warsaw. It's never rained as much as it has in the last few days, and we're loving it. We're up here about the same parallel as Canada, which is very exciting, I can tell you, in the spring and summer. We have like two seasons here. We have winter and 4th of July. This is two great seasons. Anyway, yuck, yuck, yuck. Anyway, we don't have, you're supposed to laugh at that, the audience. We have the audience here, but they're not laughing. Obviously, I need a new joke writer, other than myself. Our guest tonight is Adrian Evans. Adrian Evans, good friend of mine. They will only be good friends of mine unless, even if they're not good friends of mine, I will lie. When we have Rutger Hauer or some of these other people that you may know, and you should know if you don't, I will just lie and say they're my good friends. But Adi is a good friend of mine. I was at his house the other night torturing his wife with my terrible wit. And but Adi is a musician extraordinaire. He's one of the best musicians I've ever met, and I've met a few. You'll have to test that. You're all going at home, he hasn't met any musicians. I know some really good musicians. Well, you may be correct. But I think that Adi's a great musician, and I think you would agree with me.
And your check
once you get to know him.
now.
Once you get to know him. Adi, welcome. It's rainy sometime during the end of May. We won't say which day because we don't know when the podcast is going out.
Well, it's just dogs and cats.
It's Tuesday.
Isn't it,
It's
basically?
Tuesday, after Memorial Day.
Yeah.
We'll disclose. It's after Memorial Day. And all this stuff is going up. And soon, and the next day with the first podcast. We've been a bit slow because Mike, our producer, he's a doctor. And he's a bit of a stickler for deadlines, which is good.
Surgical.
Yeah, he's going to be a surgeon.
Yeah.
But he's also producing this. And you know, what better than to have a surgical precision in a podcast? How many people have a surgeon producing their podcast? I don't even think Norm Macdonald could say that. I don't think anyone can say
He
that.
wouldn't dare say
We have a surgeon. We're in good hands, so to speak.
Well, surgeon to be, if anything, but thank you for the kind praise.
Yeah, that was Michael.
And
No,
your
from the
check has
last
also cleared.
podcast,
Okay.
yeah. Anyway, so Adi, tell us about yourself. I mean,
Well,
because I could go on forever, but
I'm just currently sat on a floorboard. Well, several
no, you're
floorboards
sat on one of
altogether.
the hard chairs that
It's-
keep us focused.
Yeah, and could you turn the light off in my face, please? You know, this is
Would you like to change the spotlight?
No, just get the interrogation light off.
Oh, you want to get you want to be interrogated, do you? No, you're not being interrogated.
Where were you on the
It's
night
actually,
before?
is that more ambient for you? I don't know what ambient means, but I heard
It's-
somebody say it. I think it means to the side or something.
It does kind of mean somewhere around that. Yeah.
Somewhere not direct in your face. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that would be good. Yeah.
80, what's going on, man?
Well, just
Tell
dodging.
me a story.
What about cat dodging?
Now, 80 is, as I said, one of the best musicians I know. And he is, I will say this, and you're one of the best drummers I've ever heard. And this is a fact. And I won't go into who you like.
you too.
Well, you started as a session musician in London when
Yeah.
you were 16 years old.
Even
Tell us how
younger,
that
I
happened.
was-
Yeah. How did that happen?
Hopped on a train, went there. Give me a job. Okay, you start today. You know, it was kind of how it went then. You could be real like an oik, you know. Hello there. I've got a pair of drumsticks. Can I play on your records?
From Northern England, right?
Yeah.
To London, it was a big step.
Absolutely.
And you're
It
a
was
fucking
fantastic.
brave guy to do that, right?
Or incredibly stupid. Who knows? I followed a career in drumming. That's an open question.
Yeah, you followed a career in drumming, but
Yeah.
you're still because we play together, and
Absolutely, yeah.
I'm telling you, I put you.
Sometimes musical instruments are even involved sometimes.
I would put your exactly.
What
not
are you
when
saying?
not when we're in the sandbox.
Mhm.
But I would put your drumming against anybody I know, from any band.
Yeah, that's,
From any band, I mean that, and because you are that good.
well, you kind of got to be. I think after 35 years, you know what I mean, if you can't cut it, then you really should.
So you're like 42 years old. You started when you were 7.
Yeah, I was actually an amoeba prodigy. I
Yeah.
came out.
You were
absolutely
like squirted out.
Exactly. Pair of 5Bs in my hand. Let's go. And I've been practicing in there, so you know that
Yeah, but when
explains the sleepless
Let's
nights.
go back. Now, when you went to this is fun.
Hmm.
It's funny, but no, you're a serious guy. And when you started in London, who were you playing with? Because you did a lot of sessions and fill-ins for people, and
Well, that was half of the point. You know, we didn't tend to know. It was just a piece of music was sort of played back and off you go.
who
So
were
you
some of the
wouldn't
people
have-
you played with in the early days? We'll get into your other
Yeah.
stuff later, but
I guess really anyone who I would play with. There's a big northern scene, and I was really lucky to be part of that. You know, just seeing it happen.
what was the northern scene at that time?
Well, that's kind of the.
Apart from the Joy Division and other people. Well,
Well,
Joy
there's-
Division was just passed.
There's an entire cutting ground, you know,
Yeah.
from players going into clubs, starting their lives in clubs, which in northern England during the 70s could be quite sort of vocal, you know, with stuff getting thrown at you. So you got good quick, and you could get loads of work. You could always be playing. So what the fuck?
Well, you had to be good, or people would throw things at you and
Yeah, that was kind
rush
of
the
it.
stage and things like that. It was a different time. Yeah.
Well, a lot
It's
of
all live music.
A
Yeah.
lot
You're
of-
making your bounds as a live musician. Yeah.
Yeah, but a lot of famous people in the UK said that if you can play the North, you can do anywhere. You know.
Why was that? Why did they say that?
Well, as you say, yeah. I
Crowds
was.
were tough.
We had one night and we were particularly shit as a band. There was this little club band doing covers with some great players, and we were playing well, but it wasn't quite up to snuff. And
It was like in a pub or something?
it was a working men's club, about 500, 600 people.
What is a working man's club for our audience?
Oh,
What does
that's
that
it.
mean back in the day?
That's
Do they still have them? I don't
Yeah,
think.
yeah. They're
They still-
kind of they're altering the as the working man becomes kind of less and less. So you know the clubs are diminishing.
Unfortunately,
But
yeah. Yeah.
also there's a rise in how they operate. So they've kind of changed their modus operandi. You know,
hmm
they do things different.
But a working man's club back in the day was like a place you go in to play,
Mm.
and it's a tough crowd, and you've got to play good music and amuse them,
Yeah.
or they're going to start throwing things, right?
Oh yeah, we've got a lot of competition. You know, you get there, you set up. There's bingo. They have like a first, what they call a house of bingo. You know, where they'll play for like 15, 20 minutes, and you're just sitting there thinking, oh, and we just supplied you with like Pinball Wizard, which we finished the first set off with at the time, and now you're sitting playing bingo. This is really weird.
This is your break. So
Yeah.
instead of just eating some meal, they're playing bingo.
Yeah, and
So
you're sitting,
what kind of age are these people playing bingo in a working man? It's all ages, right?
Yeah, at the time I'd say mid-20s, late 50s even. You know.
So
The
there was a
whole working
crossover
bracket,
between
basically,
the
yeah.
young people and the older people, and the working
No,
man's
it's just,
club.
it's just a it's a
Did they accept you?
sometimes, but if they didn't, you know.
What's the worst thing that ever happened to you in a working man's club back in the day? Early 80s.
The worst one was Tim, a great guitarist. He was a real like fireball. We were just playing, and all of a sudden, out of my peripheral vision, I saw him kind of strike a batsman's pose with this Aria guitar he had at the time. And you know, stuff happens when you're on stage. It's all in slow motion. I just saw this glass hit his guitar, but I also saw it coming barreling towards me, kind of face up. That was-
Hopefully you ducked.
yeah, that's why I was glad for the slow motion. if it was quick motion, I'd have probably got hit.
So who are some of the people you played with in the early sessions that kept you going, that got you, because we're going to talk about your band later
Yeah.
and other things, but who were some of the people that got you going in the early days? That you played with that were impressive to you?
Mainly the local guys. You know, you could find yourself playing in a club with some really great guys. You know, just
Just
by accident.
like from Newcastle. Yeah.
From that area, yeah. I mean, I don't want to kind of go into name
Drop names.
But
Drop
no,
names.
I'm
Drop-
not, I
no,
can't
please
do
drop
that,
names.
you know.
Do
But
drop
you
names.
just get, you just be on the stage and all of a sudden.
And who
you got
walks
some-
up? Somebody you
Yeah.
know.
Just a name.
Who walks up?
I'm not doing it.
Now do it.
That's
Talk
so
names, for God's sake.
I don't like to do it.
Well,
That's
do it
kind of
anyway
enjoyable.
for me. And for the audience, do
No.
it. Who are some of the names who walked up? Because you're from Newcastle.
Yeah.
We know so many people, Mark Knopfler and Sting and people like that. Sting. Daniel Sumner to me, or whatever
Or
his name.
Gordon Sumner.
Gordon or Daniel. Yeah.
Yeah, well, he pops around a bit, but he was in a great local jazz band before that, before the whole.
And
Sting thing.
you knew him at that
Well,
time.
perhaps-
You knew of him.
Yeah, everyone in the area knew about this guy who could really play the guitar. You know.
So what was the key to the Newcastle sound and all these people that came out of it? Why did it happen there?
Comes back to the clubs. You know, you were playing.
There was a place to play.
Well, there was not only a place to play, but a place to really get what rock and roll is a raw item, you know, and it should be put in front of. You should have a certain confidence about it, you know. And I think when you've been in those kind of gigs where stuff can happen, collectively the whole scene was built up of very tough guys, you know.
Was there a big difference between the people who made it and the people who didn't, or was it luck, or what happened?
Always luck, I think. But there's such a high level of players, you know. I forgot until just recently when a northeast guitar player was playing in Warsaw with his band, and just it was watching something familiar, you know.
Who
kind of
was it?
going, that was Paul Rose band,
Who?
the Paul Rose Trio.
Yeah, tell us about him.
Oh man, he's just
He's a legend to you, I know. Yeah.
he's
We were talking
he's a
about
brilliant
it before.
guitarist that I've sort of been aware of for a long time, and yeah, I just kind of flicked on Facebook one day and was like, whoa, I think I'll go to that. And he was on and we had a chat. Really
He's one of the
nice
guys
guy.
from that time. Huh?
Yeah.
Who
he's
did
a
he
really-
play with that the people will know?
He's been like largely solo, but he does clinics and stuff. But he is probably one of the greatest undiscovered guitarists. You know.
Why do
Or
you say
under-
that?
Well, he's got
What's his name again? Say
Paul
it again
Rose.
clearly.
Paul Rose.
Rose?
Yeah, Rose.
R-O-S-E?
It's in the flower, yeah.
Paul Rose.
Paul Rose,
R-O-S-E.
yeah.
He's on YouTube, so we can see him.
Oh, there's millions, thousands of videos.
Yeah.
And you'll just see anyone who loves music watching that will know what it puts it together. Really.
Why do you think he's still underground, so to speak?
Who can tell? It's the industry.
Because in England there's so many people
Yeah,
who are good.
the industry just has time and place moments, you know, where bands kind of just happen, or they don't. So.
Who are some of the other people you played sessions with,
Well, it was kind of. I kicked off. I was really lucky to play with a few of Chris Rea's ex-boys, but I just really got out of like I said, the session work was really just nothing. You know, I was a part of the thing, going on in the day.
What was the big moment for you then? When you said, "Hey,
Wow.
I know I can play, but now
It's always been that. Just
I'm-
wait, but you just wait and work and it's a northern tenacity. Even if you feel you've got something going on, you will just keep going because it will be okay in the end. You know.
because you know you can play."
Or you'll just become an insurance salesman. You know.
But was there because you've been a working musician the whole time, so what was your moment when you said what was your most satisfying early moment then when you said, "Oh, this is going to be fun. I'm going to be on television or whatever."
Second week, really quickly for me, I just loved playing in front of people straight away, and I loved what I could say with the drum kit, which good or bad is what it is. You know, some people think it's good, some people think I suck.
Nobody thinks you suck.
Oh.
Nobody that I've heard. Who
Oh.
thinks you suck? Yeah.
Uh,
Some people think you're not a good drum player. Really? Because
No,
you're one
there's-
of my favorite drum players, and I think I know a little bit about it.
there's a lot of
Yeah.
you know there's always that different league, you know, of who's whom and what.
What's a different league? I don't understand.
Just at the moment, just the player at the time. Some guys are great for. You listen to the '60s drummers and how.
Which
they
drummers
play.
do you like?
Oh, a mixture, man.
Who are your
We were-
favourite?
we were
Name them
talking
off.
the other night
Give us
about
top
Hal-
5.
I think Hal Blaine, as we were talking about the other night, you know, I
Mhm.
just love his understatement. He's a great drummer and obviously the most recorded guy of all time, so he can't be all bad.
Tell people about Hal Blaine, because they don't know who Hal Blaine is.
Oh, he was just... There was a discussion once where a guy said that that he'd been... he was a drummer, and he just said that what his favourite drummers were. And then he realised that 10 of his favourite drummers were Hal Blaine, you know, because the records that he loved had this guy playing on them. So what are you gonna do?
But who did Hal Blaine play with?
Everyone, Beach Boys, Elvis.
Exactly.
You know, it was.
Was he not with Brian Wilson on Pet Sounds?
Pet Sounds, yeah.
Please be more disclosing. Yeah.
Well, yeah.
More
Who
forthcoming.
He's just... Those sessions are just...
Well, people can Google him, but let's give him...
Oh, yeah.
Don't really draw it out of you. Don't recede into your tortoise shell.
Well, it's just happened that way.
Who are your other... Hal Blaine, of course, from Pet Sounds and he's a
everything
legend.
else, you know.
Buddy Rich, I know you like. Of
Yeah.
course, he's a great jazz and whatever drummer. He's just a great drummer. Gene Krupa.
I was more of a Krupa guy.
Krupa's the first guy.
He was
really
the raw
who
energy.
made drums.
The drum is
Indispensable,
largely what it
didn't
is today because of him, because of the pedals. You know,
Gene Krupa made drums indispensable, right?
Yeah. Him and the Slingerland Drum Company they made the kit what it is today. So.
Where was that done?
1923, I think. But it could be quite a boring story. if
It's
you
not
know the
boring
drum.
at all, as long as you make it interesting.
Oh dear.
Don't make me make it
Heaven
interesting.
forbid.
Gene Krupa was the great jazz drummer. Even they made Hollywood films about it. He was like the Clark Gable of musicians. He was like, he was the guy who invented drums that Keith Moon, Buddy Rich, Buddy Rich first, then Keith Moon,
Yeah.
they all, people that they look at as epitomes of drummers, they studied this guy, Gene Krupa.
Yeah, well, you couldn't.
That's actually a Hollywood film, the Gene Krupa story.
Oh yeah.
Oh.
But Buddy Rich was a different animal because he was a technician. He took the Buddy Rich. He took what is essentially a very raw style because Gene Krupa was real raw. He was like the Rolling Stones.
Fantastic.
And Buddy Rich kind of became like the Beatles, if you will. You know, the good guys. He was Mr. Technician, Mr. Clean.
Buddy Rich, yeah, of course, because he was on Ed Sullivan, etc. People go back. Buddy Rich, Buddy Rich. Catch him on YouTube.
He's out there, folks.
Yeah, he's the great drummer. But he was on the Tonight Show, all these television shows.
Yeah.
He was in England. He used to do tours just in Britain, just playing drums alone.
Yeah, he did workshops in places like.
But he would play drums alone
Yeah.
for concerts,
Yeah.
and people would come.
It was. Yeah.
Who else has done that?
Well, that's developed into a whole industry now. You know.
Yeah,
Terry
it
Bozzio
changed.
and his.
Yeah. He was at his heyday in the 60s, early 70s,
Yeah.
I think. Yeah.
Yeah, 60s and 70s.
What did you
60s
learn
more.
from these guys as a drummer?
I learned from.
You're also a very good guitar player, but we'll talk about that later.
Well, I kind of took the Krupa. I went the Krupa way because for me it was just.
What does that mean, to go the Krupa way?
It was rough. I like a rougher style. You know, he's more tribal in his playing. You know, he pulses, and Buddy Rich is very good at all that stuff. But like I say, he's the Beatles a little bit, and I want him.
Buddy Rich is more on the top drums and the cymbals, and
Yeah, it's
Krupa
okay.
ran the...
It's tricks, you know. He had
Yeah.
great tricks that he could do, but Krupa had the heart. And you don't get to be the first recorded drum solo guy for no reason.
Ever.
You know.
Yeah.
That was
He was the first guy on TV.
yeah.
Krupa, they did the movies and stuff, but he was the first guy. Buddy Rich was the first guy on TV.
No,
Wasn't he?
no. That was Krupa.
It was Krupa in
Yeah.
the 50s, right?
30s.
But that's not TV. They made a film, the Gene Krupa story. Yeah, we talked about
That was
I
with
mentioned
the hand syncing and everything.
Yeah, but okay, let's move up to rock and roll drummers. Who are the best rock and roll drummers for you?
Easy, really. It's just Keith
It's
Moon.
easy.
Yeah, you just
Well,
take,
then speak up.
take the progression from Gene Krupa and add whatever blue pills or whatever it was that he took, and you got Keith Moon. That's just He's just the next embodiment.
Why is Keith Moon so great? Because I agree with you. To me, Keith Moon, I remember as a child, he was always, to me, a superhuman force. I mean, because I was a musician very young, but as a singer with symphonies and stuff in Atlanta, but he always struck me as a force of nature. I mean, the first time I ever heard him, I was like, that is one of the most interesting musicians I've ever heard as a child. And what do you think was his, what was his ability? Why are we so captivated by him? Apart from his great stories.
Well, the guy he's vocal. He's a vocal drummer, you know, when you hear him, it goes with the vocal line or the guitar line.
He's often a lead drum.
Yeah, so
he's often the lead instrument.
He doesn't sit behind with John. He's kind of up there with the vocals. He
I
creates.
mean, with John Entwistle. He doesn't stay, because usually in a rock and roll band, the drummer plays with the bass player, and that's your section.
Yeah.
But
Mooney went the other way and went to Pig.
He went to, and actually Pete Townsend has said from the Who, for those people who don't know, you should, if you don't know the Who, you should look it up. Pete Townsend has said that Keith Moon was often the lead in the songs.
Oh yeah.
And
look at Barbara
And Pete Townsend
O'Reilly.
was playing the rhythm, for example.
Barbara O'Reilly is just like a major melody drum part, you know.
It
But that's again, it's real. It's a Krupa development.
Do we see that today in bands? Are there any bands who do that today?
Hell no. There's no one.
What's the difference between bands who used to do that and bands now? Do they have no balls? What's the problem?
Clicks and electronics, I suppose, for one thing. Everyone's just trying to be too perfect and too clean and too nice.
Which will bring me to something in a second. We'll talk
But you know, but why? It's really.
What is
hard
this
to-
obsession with perfection? As if human beings were perfect.
It's kind
As
of.
if our emotions were
It's
perfect.
over intellectualizing.
As if our emotions were perfect.
Mm.
As if our impulses were perfect.
Mm-hmm.
That would make us machines.
Well, that's what you try. That's what electronics or whatever gives you now, because it gives you a.
And that's why it's bullshit.
I think it
Much of the time.
it has a place,
Has no
but
feeling.
I think
It has a place in a disco, maybe, with some ladies doing their thing. But is it music?
or someone else's thing. But the thing.
The thing, yeah. The thing they do.
Just not John Carpenter's.
Yeah. No. Thank you, Michael.
I just think
Michael's- Stop texting, Michael, for God's
Yeah.
sake.
No.
it's a Candy Crush saga again.
My God, that looks like Arabic. Yeah. Is that us? Is that our sound? I think it looks like Arabic. The sound. He's got his telephone out and he's like tracing our sound. It looks like Arabic on the.
No, I'm writing notes.
Oh, you are. Okay. Yeah. It looked like Arabic to me, but then I'm not as intelligent as I used to be
Well,
yesterday.
he is studying medicine.
Yeah. No, he's-
So my handwriting is illegible.
I'm a
Yeah,
surgeon,
exactly.
Jim. I'm a surgeon.
I
And-
can't write my own name, but I'm a surgeon.
Yeah, but to me, now I'm going to say, I think, most of the music we hear now is bullshit. It's too electronic. It's not that electronic music's bad, because even we can go back, and maybe we can put a clip in here, of Jim Morrison predicting. Jim Morrison? Ever heard of him? Everybody? Yeah, okay, Jim Morrison. Yeah, you don't know. The Doors? You don't know. The Doors, Jim Morrison. Please, you know who Jesus is. Don't be excited about something that happened before your time. Or World War II or World War I. I don't want to hear that argument. I can hear you saying it. I'm not responsible for knowing stuff that's before my time. Yes, you are. It's called history. You know your parents, they were born before you. And your grandparents too. You have to know history. But anyway, Jim Morrison in 1970
Jim who?
or 71. Now, Jim Morrison, exactly. This guy who drank too much and killed himself. He was saying, and he had very few interviews. Do you know the clip I'm talking about?
I don't.
It's on YouTube. You can find it on YouTube.
Is that JimMorrison.com?
No, it's on YouTube. It's probably on thedoors.com or whatever they have. But there is this clip where he says, you know, he's got his glasses on and that fucking great hair, and he's like sitting there. It's like a year before he died, and he wasn't probably doing those last bits of heroin that ended his life, unfortunately.
Just say no, kids.
Don't do heroin, that's my advice, because it robs us of great people. But William Burroughs would tell you the same, read his books and see what he had to say about heroin. He kicked it big time. But William Burroughs, another name, yes, saying, I don't know who that is. Read his books, William Burroughs. Junkie is the first book ever written about a heroin addict.
Wrong
And you
way.
all like fucking drugs, so. That's me not smoking drugs, it's a cigarette. But there's this beautiful short interview with Jim Morrison, and as I say, very rare, in which he says, you know, I can see in the future that there won't be any bands like we have now. There'll be like one guy with some electronic stuff, and that'll be the future of music. And how right he was, you know. And he predicted it. And people think, Morrison is a drunk guy. He's doing blues music and all that other stuff. Lou Reed hated him, for example, which is another subject. But he knew what the future was. It'd be like someone like him with something to say, with a voice that communicated, and electronic shit around it. He got it right, because that's the whole history of the future of DJs and sampling and even rap, actually. Predicted by a hippie called Jim Morrison, but he wasn't a hippie, actually. People don't get Jim Morrison right. He was never a hippie. You know, he was an extremely intelligent guy who wrote songs and wanted to meet some girls. You know, that was what he was all about. And he wrote some of the best songs that you could, you know, that we know. And well, he didn't write them all, because Light My Fire is by Robbie Krieger, the guitarist.
Yeah. But he certainly made a nice vocal choice to it.
No, he had great vocals, and he was a guy who said, I can't sing, but I got these words, and everybody's seen the movie, or you can watch it. He was a very humble guy, actually. That's what people don't understand. But he liked to give a show. It was like Brecht or something. He would give a show.
Yeah.
But when he was himself, he was a different guy. Yeah.
I suppose you have to push a different persona. You go crazy if if you try and live.
Well, no, he's an actor.
Mm.
But all frontmen are actors.
Oh, yeah.
Look at Mr. Jagger. I remember I interviewed John Lord before he died. The keyboard player who invented the Hammond sound of Deep Purple, and the Hammond sound that became through the Marshall amplifiers.
Oh, yeah. With a
He
smash
invented
speaker
it.
and things.
Yeah. And I interviewed him, and I said, what do you think about Mick Jagger? He says, well, you know, he's great, but you never know which Mick you're going to get.
Wow.
I think with Jim Morrison, you knew who you were going to get.
Well, there would be time of day, Jim, wouldn't there, I suppose, you know. So.
Well, Mick Jagger's always had an agenda, hasn't he? He's Sir Mick Jagger. I mean, can you imagine Jim Morrison being knighted? To be like, what?
Yeah.
Because he came from the upper class.
Didn't
His
Jagger-
father was an admiral.
Didn't he come from the School of Economics or something? Or?
No, he studied film.
No.
But he came from he
He
studied
studied
film
Jagger.
at UCLA. Or
No,
USC. One
No,
of the two.
Jagger, I was meaning. I think he went.
Jagger went to the London School of Economics, but he was from the British time, you know, I don't know if you call it working class or middle or lower middle class or whatever. No, but his father, I think, was a teacher, as I remember. But he always put on like he wasn't educated, but of course he was.
Oh, absolutely.
Whereas Jim Morrison never pretended he wasn't educated. And his father was the admiral in charge of the Bay of Tonkin incident, which started the Vietnam War. His father was in charge.
Right.
So you've got him as a countercultural hero,
Mm.
and his father was a huge military guy in Vietnam. You know,
Yeah, that's a bit of a tangent, isn't it?
and they're both obviously upper class guys
Yeah.
going against each other. But that was different from England,
Yeah.
where the revolution came from the working class, more or less, or the lower middle class, if you like, whatever that means. I don't know what that means, but
It's hard to tell with the Richmond scene, I guess. In those
it's hard to.
days.
I mean, this is getting into things that maybe I'm not. Maybe we're not. Maybe you could tell me more about. I lived in England for 10 years, but I don't.
I think you probably took in more than I did.
We need to call Huey Morgan and ask him his
Yeah.
opinion.
He'll have it figured out.
Huey does have it figured out.
Yeah.
Huey's interesting. We'll get him on a podcast,
Mm.
and you'll be invited back when we talk to Huey.
Oh dear.
We'll get him on a podcast for sure. Huey Morgan, from all the British people will know Huey Morgan, but from the Fun-Loving Criminals.
Aye.
You know.
Well,
No, I don't know. I think I lost the fucking tangent there, but
that was
we went
Where
off.
were we?
But I think people don't know. Maybe people don't know this, but I think it's worth saying. I've never heard anybody say this stuff
Mm-hmm.
in a broadcast or in writing even. Make this connection about Jim Morrison and his father. I think it was one of the biggest catalysts of the 60s time was Jim Morrison fighting his father.
Right, I didn't know about this.
Yeah, his father was, as I said, an admiral
Mm-hmm.
who was in charge of the American fleet at the Bay of Tonkin incident, which started the Vietnam War.
Ooh.
So his father was complicit,
Mm-hmm.
and he knew it. And he used to tell people, I don't have any parents, in all the interviews. And he never made peace with them
Right.
because he knew. It was like he was like a secret agent. Jim Morrison was like a secret agent in rock and roll who came from the upper class of America
Yeah.
and did his thing and disavowed his parents. Although later in his life, I think he wanted to, he didn't have time, he didn't live long enough, but I think he wanted to make his peace. He had told friends that he wanted to make his peace with his father about that
Yeah.
very subject. So, I don't know how we got on that, but rock and roll has its moments.
Certainly. did.
And I think it's worth saying that. I've never heard anybody say that explicitly
Mm.
anywhere. And I'm saying it now because it's true. And anyone can check it out. But back to you
Oh,
and your stories.
Mm-hmm.
You played with a band called Hurrah, or The
Yeah.
Hurrah, if you like,
Yeah.
which was a seminal indie band from the 80s.
Yeah.
You were a fucking tyke. You were a young guy. And they influenced many famous bands, including R.E.M.
Well, I think they had. I think a lot of people got to hear what they were doing at the beginning. You know. They were
What did
quite
R.E.M.
solid.
say to you about that? Because I know you met them and you had a conversation.
It was just a moment of wow. There was no conversation, and that was the very nice thing, you know.
Didn't Michael
Yeah.
Stipe say to you, "Oh, we like that band," or Peter Buck
Yeah.
or something?
So you know.
Didn't they say that?
Mm-hmm.
What did they say?
Exactly that. You know, it's just. I can't remember word for word of verbatim.
Well,
It's
they
just
were-
a sentiment, you know.
They said, "Hey,
Mhm.
this is a great band."
I think a lot of people did at the time, though. You know. That was.
How did you do Melody Maker?
Say
It's
what?
a great band. The Hurrah. Check it out on YouTube. It's a great band.
Oh yes.
What's the origin of the Hurrah? You're the drummer for the Hurrah.
Well, they were the
What's the
Green
origin?
Eyed Children for years. They sort of developed from there, and they were kind of building the scene up. You know, there's a lot of this alternative scene that was going on in Newcastle at the time. Kind of just went into hurrah.
They were
that,
from
you know.
Newcastle.
From Newcastle,
Again,
yeah.
another band. Like the
Of
Police,
course, you know.
like
Tough ass Northerners. You
like what's the band's name? I can't remember the name right now. Those great guys.
Oh, the really great ones. Oh,
No, the guys that people like. It's so popular. You know, Brothers in Arms. That band.
oh, Dire Straits.
Yeah.
He's from up our neck of the woods. Yeah.
You had the Average White Band from Dundee as well.
Well, yeah.
A band that I really liked in the 80s. Yeah.
But no, I think that it comes back that Newcastle breeding them tough and different. You know, you got,
Why? What's the atmosphere of Newcastle? You still haven't.
oh,
Why would there be so many good musicians from Newcastle? And there are other bands, there are many.
just this desire to play all the time. You know, there's a very different ideal.
Working Men's Club and working musicians.
Yeah, it's everyone is working or was working at the time. You know, so you just had you could go into a town and there'd be like 8 gigs a night somewhere. You know, little clubs, maybe a bigger venue, all the way through. And it has that you have to play them all. So you know.
I know you played with
Yeah.
Jack Bruce. What was that like?
Oh, that was just an expo thing. That was
Jack
just,
Bruce,
just no, it was
the,
just
from the Cream.
yeah.
You played with him. What was that like?
Awesome. You know.
Well, you have to replace
Just a
Ginger
jam.
Baker.
Well, yeah, tough act to follow.
Well, who can replace Ginger Baker, the great drummer for the Cream? And,
Well,
and the next great drummer,
another crew,
another great hero.
another Krupa kind of guy. You know,
Well, he's a great hero.
Yeah.
Anybody can listen to the Cream and see him play or see Keith Moon play. Why don't drummers play this way anymore?
It comes back to this perfection thing. You know, there's just, I don't know. I think those drummers had more life. You know, you could see Ringo pounding away on the kit. Very simplistic.
Ringo's
drummer,
strong.
but yeah. But he's really pounding the living crap out of that.
No, he's
Watch-
a great player.
Watch the Shea Stadium video,
Yeah.
and he's got this Ludwig kit, and it's just belly dancing all over the place.
It's moving. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what 60s and 70s drummers kind of had, was they were just making it all move. They were creating something. Drummers today are just projecting sound.
What can you say then? If I never asked you this before, what about the Allman Brothers? They had 2 drummers. Was that a good thing, or?
I just don't know if it was an equal opportunities gig. Maybe they had to like hire 2 drummers.
Ah!
You know,
No, well, one of them was black. That's
Was
true.
it? Was it? Well,
That's
They're,
true.
you know.
That is true. But what are you talking about? No, in terms of having 2 drummers, but that is true. One of them was black, as I remember. Is that correct?
yeah,
I think I saw it, yeah, on the videos.
In answer to your question, I've never understood 2 drummers, man.
I don't understand
that's
either.
just-
It's like having
yeah.
2 bass players. What does it give to you? What would 2 drummers give you in a band?
Well, the weird thing is that when I've listened to bands with really good 2 drummer outfits, you don't hear 2 drummers somehow.
Mm-hmm.
Now that suggests to me that there's 2 guys who are working half as hard as they should be,
Correct.
or they're incredibly tight and can tell when the other one's going to fart. You know, that's
That's interesting, yeah, because there would be no room for another drummer with Keith Moon on the stage.
and there'd be no room for 2 guys
Or
who didn't
John
know when they were
Bonham.
farting.
Or John Bonham.
Yeah.
Whose
Bonzo,
drum set
Bonzo,
you have?
Yeah.
Tell us
That's,
about your drum set that you have.
Oh man, solid steel, of era Ludwig. Yeah, that's just.
But it was John Bonham's set.
Yeah.
From which did he record? Which albums did he record with that?
Well, we don't have direct knowledge of all the tracks, but if there's a big track out there, you can be sure it's this baby, you know. So.
And you inherited this. Did you
Uh-huh,
still have it?
yeah. Yes, but.
You still have John Bonham's? Now wait a second. You still have John Bonham's? Wait a second.
Wait a moment.
I'm not asking your sex life.
Mhm.
You have John Bonham's drum kit?
Yes, some of them, yeah. So.
And
It's
how did you come across that?
The Evening Gazette.
No, come on. He was
Yeah.
selling it?
It was in a classified. I don't know how how this kit got to me. The story of getting my Ludwig is real wonderful. You know that.
Have we played with that kit?
No, not yet.
I don't think so.
No,
You reserve that. Yeah.
She's in semi-retirement now. You know.
You reserve that.
Yeah.
You don't pull it out. But it was
No,
his
but-
drum kit.
Not necessarily. That's a different story.
But tell us more about the Hurrah.
Mm-hmm.
And what it was like, because you guys toured. You played Wembley more than once.
Yeah.
You played throughout the United States, in every kind of place.
Yeah.
What were some of the crazy things that you guys did? And tell us the guys in the band, actually.
Wow.
And look this
Mm.
band up, everybody, because the Hurrah is a great band, coming out of the jangly guitar area of the Byrds, and that '60s great jangly guitar REM. Tell us about it, because Roger McGuinn was a big fan. Roger
I guess
McGuinn, the
it's so,
guitarist
yeah.
and founder of the Byrds, was a
Mhm.
big fan.
Well,
Tell us
yeah.
about it.
Accidental knowledge, I guess. So.
What does accidental knowledge mean?
Well, you just know the nods. It's yeah. It is. I don't know. I can't describe those times.
You can't describe this time. What was your? You can't. What was your best time playing with the band? What was your most memorable? Because I've heard a lot of. Don't be so shy.
I'm gonna be very shy actually. I don't like at the moment. It's I'm just feeling shy.
Well, talk it up. Talk it up. What were some of your good moments playing with the band?
Oh,
Your favorite moments, anyway.
for me was being allowed to really open up when we started to record late on. You know, I think we did a thing in '92 that was for me was this.
What was that called?
Well, it became kind of a mythical album. They called it the Lost Album. You could, in fan clubs and
Can we hear it
pages
now?
and stuff.
Where can we
Yeah,
hear
it's
it?
now available. It's on Cherry Red Records.
Cherry Red Records. What's the name
Yeah.
of it? It's called
It's
The
called-
Lost Album? Or?
It's the Lost Album or Rebirth of the Cool, which was an intriguing title for me when I saw it. I must admit,
What
'Cause I
was your-
saw it by accident.
So it's called Cherry Cool of the Rebirth album. And what was your favorite time playing with these guys? What was your moment?
Oh man. We
You
did
told
a
me
really-
something about it. I'm gonna disclose in a second. Yeah. You used to drink. I've seen you on TV. I've seen you playing on Top of the Pops. I've seen you there.
Guy gets around.
Yeah, guy gets around. You told me you used to drink a bottle of what every day?
Well, it used to be a nice
Cognac. You used to
brandy,
drink a bottle
yeah.
of brandy or cognac
Yeah. I'm not really there.
every day
Yeah, they were fun times.
when you were
but
touring. Yeah.
They're fun times, but it's not really what I'm about. You know. So.
Well, obviously it's not what you're about, but it's what you used to do. The things we
Yeah.
drink or the things we do to alter our senses are not what we're about.
Something
It's,
kids
they're
which
tools
you-
we
yeah.
use.
Something kids, I've got to say there, you know, is don't do it. Actually, I reached a point when all the rock and roll must have gone out of me. I think because I just sort of was playing one day and thought I play better when I'm not in this condition.
Well, you don't want to be too toasted because then you miss the fun of the
Oh, I've been
everybody
toasted.
else.
I've fallen off the back of the kit in awkward places. I fell through a fire door off my drum kit one time. That was really good fun.
Through a fire door?
Yeah, I got introduced and I was really close to the back of the stage in this club, and this guy said, and boom, I threw my arms. up
Don't
in
do
the air.
this at home. Don't
Yeah.
fall through the fire door at your house.
I threw my arms up in the air, hit the torsion bars for the fire door, went scooping out,
Oh, I know what I was
Rolled-
going to ask you. Yeah.
rolled down a flight of stairs, and was met at the bottom by a friend of mine.
No, I have to ask you
I couldn't-
something.
You couldn't script it, man. It was really weird.
I have to ask you something. Apart from you falling through the fire door, you were audience in that famous show
Mm-hmm.
when Oliver Reed, the great English actor, great
On the word when he went off.
great movie actor, Oliver Reed. Look it up, people. Oliver Reed, R-E-E-D.
Not the other one.
Who was singing Wild Thing on one of these shows. Was it The Word? What was it?
Well, that was
What was
the
it?
word.
Was it The Word?
Yeah, what was it? Was he not in this leather bike?
Yes, he
jacket
was in
or
a
something?
leather bike jacket
And
with
just-
his huge belly
Yeah.
protruding. I mean, Oliver Reed. It was like 90s, yeah?
97 or something.
Yeah, it was late
I remember
90s.
that, Yeah.
And he was
That
like,
was it.
at the end of his life, of course, he made his last film was The Gladiator.
Mm-hmm.
And he's a great actor. But
Without doubt,
he totally went
dreadful
out of
scene.
his fucking mind, didn't he? He was on The Word. That was the show.
That's
You
right,
can
he
find
went-
it on YouTube.
Yeah, because he went.
And he was supposed to sing Wild Thing. He came out totally drunk.
Mm,
You were in the audience or on the...
audience. Yeah,
You were audience.
Yeah.
Why were you there?
visiting. I was doing a session on that night.
And you just
Uh,
went by to the next studio?
Yeah, I just went along and there it was, the Reed.
But this is one of like the most famous things ever on British television.
Yeah,
It is actually.
It's weird when you see it on the TV. I think that you see it differently
He was such a...
to being
They
in
took
the place,
advantage
you
of
know.
him actually. I think.
Those guys are all.
Did he want to be taken advantage of? I don't know.
Mm.
I think he was so paralytic.
A few of them did that though. There was a Tony Blackburn. Do you ever remember him? He was a DJ from England.
I remember,
Yeah.
Of course.
And he was doing some kind of really dreadful show in Ibiza of all places. And he came on and you thought Tony Blackburn was the voice, you know, great DJ in the pop
He was
scene.
like John Peel.
Yeah.
It wasn't as good. John Peel was the dean.
He was more like light entertainment.
He was light
version,
entertainment. He
yeah.
was a famous guy. Yeah.
Well, yeah, he played some of the was it not some of the early Radio Caroline stuff?
We'll talk about John Peel in a second if people want to. Maybe they'd like to know about John Peel. Those who don't. But and what?
Yeah, but yeah, Blackburn ended up doing these dreadful cabaret shows, and he came on like a Word or something like this, one of these Friday night chat shows, and he had a gold medallion on a chain round his neck, and he just stood and tried to swing it around his neck, and you got this vision of this.
Who
guy.
did Oliver Reed?
No, it's just Tony.
Tony Blackburn did.
Yeah,
Well, he was
With this kind
out
of
of his
orange.
mind as well.
yeah. I think he'd been out there too long. He was just way too orange. You know?
What great days! Yeah, these were the great days when people went too far.
Yeah.
And even that Oliver Reed thing. And look it up on YouTube because he sings
He did
Wild
it a few
Thing.
times. He did he not do it on Parkinson's?
He
as
did
well?
a few things, but that's the most famous
Yeah.
one because he's. But the reason why it's really cool
Hmm.
and interesting is because they're taking the piss out of him, and he knows it, and he gets it,
Mm.
but he still does it because it's like a guy at a party.
Well, I think
You know,
he
you
did
never
it-
get it on American television actually ever.
No.
Unless it was on one of those shows where somebody lives in a trailer and they come up drunk and they attack their, pregnant ex-wife. Jerry Springer or whatever the equivalents are.
Jerry Springer pregnant.
What?
Was Jerry Springer pregnant?
No, I'm saying it's Jerry Springer. Ada, you got to do better than that.
Sorry.
It's a Jerry. Come on,
Did
because you're
try.
way behind the line now.
I
Buck
don't
up.
know what I'm doing.
No, it's a Jerry Springer show.
Mm-hmm.
And he brings out some pregnant woman who goes nuts, or
Mm.
some guy is like, "Wow, I'll tell you what,
She goes nuts on the show.
she
and
ran
before
out
she
on
went
me
the
with
show.
my next door neighbor," and it's kind of like that, but which is unusual for British TV, especially with a guy like Oliver Reed who's nominated for Oscars,
Yeah, but I think.
and
the
they
great-
let him go
The
on,
great British public, I think they love to watch a good bit of spiraling out of control. You know.
and yeah, I not so much anymore, but back
Mm.
then, but this is a famous moment on TV.
Oh man, yeah. He did it on Parkinson.
And you were there, which
Yeah.
surprised me because I knew this, and I was telling you about it. You said I was there. I said, "Have you seen Oliver Reed sing Wild Thing?" You were like, "Yeah, I was there." I was like, "How did you happen to be there?" It's like a
Whoops.
Crazy
Well, you
moment.
trip over things in your life, man. That's
yeah. You're like a bystander.
yeah. I
If
like
you're
that.
if you're around show business,
Hmm.
you're
You
like
get
a
to see
bystander to
moments.
so much stuff that's you're not on camera or
Uh,
you're not there, but you're there seeing it if you're around show business.
I guess with a car, with like I was saying about when Tim deflected this glass bottle at me at a concert one time in the north, I think when you're a
Who's
bystander,
Tim?
you see.
Who?
Oh, he was this guitar player in this band I was in when I moved up to the north of England, and he was a really great guy. I mean, he was just a ball of fire. We didn't get any further than the clubs really, but he was a mega player. He was just a
I need to
he
disclose
was a
that.
force of nature actually.
I need to disclose that Eddie's a force of nature
not a
too, and
force
he's
of-
being very. You are, and he's being very British about it. But we play music together.
Now that's what, yeah. I don't
I'll say that you're a force. I can say it.
Mm.
You're a force of nature. I'm not, but you are. I just write some words.
I
and
just
you
have a
don't.
forceful nature.
Well,
You're mixing
you-
the two up already. What are you doing?
You're a smelly man, and you need to wash your clothes more often. I can say that, and that I know.
Get to that age where
That
you
I
do
know,
have to,
and that is true.
yeah.
But
I'm of that age.
being unclean and nasty, basically, is not. You know,
I like
it's
to
not
keep,
what we're talking
I
about.
keep
We're talking
my
about some inspirational
yeah,
thing
but
beyond the smell of your jeans not being
I keep
washed
that-
for a month.
what do you mean, ode to tortured artist? Is that
Correct.
what you mean? Yeah.
That would be.
It's,
Is that you?
Yeah, that's the sweet smell of perfection, my boy.
That's you, not you. But Eddie, you and I, we work together, and
We do indeed. Yeah.
not only with writing songs, but and I'm glad to do it. And I think some of the people may like some of the music, but
Well, that's what I want to. I'm more concerned about that now.
you're more concerned. What about
this
now?
Is why, this is
What
probably
about
why I'm
now?
a little uneasy about the past. Is because since I've moved
But
over
why
here,
should you be?
Because I'm here in Poland now, and I want
It
to.
doesn't matter. This is universal. We're in Warsaw, and we are sat
Yeah.
now in a building which is one of the few buildings which was left standing in the whole city after World War II. The whole town was decimated.
And you kept the podcast going.
Yeah.
I think.
And we never
highly
stopped
commendable.
broadcasting.
Yeah.
Warsaw calling. Warsaw calling.
Yeah.
We never stopped. Now, but this is a building that's been here since before the war. There are not many in this town. It was 98, 97%, whatever your figures are, but virtually totally destroyed. And we're sitting in one of the old buildings, so it's worth noting that the city survived. We're
Right.
broadcasting from the bunker, from an original bunker. And I tell you what, we could put machine guns in the windows and control.
Yeah.
We could control the ingress, the exit. We could control it. The courtyard for
I think
sure.
there would be a definite kill zone in there somewhere.
Do you know my friend Ewan? I rented the place from Ewan Jones. I think do a Welsh accent. I can't do it.
Ewan Jones.
There you go. Yeah. Ah, sounds like Tom Jones.
Sorry, make handling down sport. Oh, wrong guy.
Yeah. Or Richard Harris in that famous rugby movie. But although he was Irish, he was supposed to be Welsh. Correct? I think so. Yeah.
I can never remember.
Ewan told me that there were Wehrmacht people, German army people,
Yeah.
sequestered, headquartered here, and that he had heard a ghost.
Ooh.
So when he posted that on Facebook, that he was moving and the place was available and there was a ghost, I immediately wrote back, I'll take it. I didn't ask about the price. I said, I'll take it. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Immediately. And you know what? Unfortunately,
You've been acting stranger ever since.
no. No stranger than usual, but
Oh.
no ghost. Unfortunately, because I welcome ghosts because it just means there is a hereafter. If I ever saw a ghost, I'd be like, yeah. I wouldn't be scared. I'd be like inviting the ghost for a drink, even though the ghost would try to drink it, would just like go through their ectoplasm.
Just put a bucket underneath and pretend it didn't happen.
Yeah, exactly. But I'd love to meet a ghost because it would mean there's proof of the hereafter. So ghosts, welcome. Please come. Please come to the bunker. German ghosts are welcome. Doesn't matter. Because it'd be nice to meet one.
Yeah.
I'm very happy to meet a ghost. Wouldn't you be? You're British. You have a lot of ghosts. Yeah.
Oh, all over the place, you know. We just keep a couple in the cupboard just in case.
Well, I'll invite you back in the next podcast. I'll
Uh-huh.
invite you back. We're going to have Alex Weber. He's going to talk about ghosts because he's done a lot of research on Polish ghosts, which he writes for the British papers, amongst the Daily Mail and the Daily Mail amongst others. Wow.
I don't know how to reply to that.
Adi, what's your favorite kind of music? And actually, your favorite kind of music, that's a bit of a lame question, I'll admit. What's the difference between music 20 years ago and today?
Ooh. Great question.
In terms of freshness, etc.
I've got a feeling I can start with the basics, and do I have to kind of...
Just go, because I'm going to come in with a quote from somebody that people will like to hear the quote from. It's not going to make us seem like old motherfuckers.
I hope when this is edited, because this guy's going to need a lot of editing for
It's
the
not
next
going to be
3 minutes.
edited.
It's going to be raw.
It's going to be raw. It's not going to be edited. So
Visceral.
you got to speak your piece, my friend.
Oh, man.
There's no editing here, my
I
friend.
want full editorial right.
There's no editing, my friend.
It's not the way
That's
podcasts
it.
work.
We don't work that way. But what's the difference? Speak your piece, for God's sake.
It comes back to life, you know. 20, 30 years ago, people had new technology they were exploring. I think that's the start of one thing. You get to the now, and there's so much, people relying so much on kind of...
I think music
Recycle.
now is mostly shit.
Yeah,
That's
but,
just my opinion.
but people are recycling a lot of music.
Yeah.
And I think it's kind of gone beyond giving your composition a flavour of, you know. And just the kind of hit button that seems to be the approach these days.
What's the hit button? I don't know what that means, man.
I really don't.
It's like, I'd like to have a hit, wouldn't you?
It's,
I think some of our songs that we've written are very good.
I'd rather,
But what's the difference between what we write and what hits are?
well, what
I think our songs would have been hits before.
apart from
What does
shitloads
it take
of
to be a hit now?
I think you have to-
Algorithms.
Yeah, it's largely nothing more than a bit of control, really. You know, music now is so controlled. There's no real dynamic anymore to it.
But wouldn't you argue that it's Mike?
Hi, Mike.
Taking over for a second, that everything we create is essentially inspired or a copy of something else. I mean, we're emulating our hearers and trying to find our own voice. And
Absolutely, but you know, you're going from a period of discovery where people were. I totally agree with that, but to this day now it's almost like the creativity curve has kind of peaked off. Whereas people were creating because they had to, now people are creating because they can.
it's democratized it, I think,
Yeah.
for sure. And
So-
I think that's definitely for the betterment, but also the danger of it is at the same time you have a lot of shit
You,
to weed
yeah,
through. But it gives...
your surface area of poop is certainly widening up. Yeah.
But before you couldn't. There was a barrier that so many people can break. Now pretty much anyone in the world with a shitty microphone can make something.
Absolutely. Well, yeah, you can. It takes a huge machine to break the wall down, but you can't really go back once you've broken it, and you can't go too far forward either, because just especially now how music has become so much of a...
I had to take a pee, so Michael took over.
No, it was actually a point I wanted to jump in anyway.
But like I say, it's the hit button. Everything you hear has a familiar tone now. I don't know if that's me getting old, but it seems to. If I'm getting more cynical about music, than
Hey Luke, bring us another beer, will you?
I'm kind
Please.
of hearing the hook lines all the time.
Be cool. Bring us another beer.
you know, from other songs before I hear them. You know, like this the Swedish Eurovision thing that's just run.
Yeah.
That is just a direct 80s disco track.
But I mean, you can't really look at Eurovision as the example of
Oh no.
amazing music being made.
I'm not saying.
Well,
that,
no one
no.
looks to Eurovision for great music.
It's
They
just
look
a-
for.
I'm looking for a quick.
But why is it popular? That's the question.
Well, I've found that it gives all Europeans a bit of common ground in the shame that they have for their own country's performance
Yeah.
and the mutual enjoyment we have that everyone else is doing a shit job as well. And the bizarrement of putting Israel and Australia and a few other weird countries that aren't even in Europe.
Yeah.
What the fuck? Pardon.
That is, yeah.
Cheers.
It's more of an easy,
Thanks, Luke.
direct point to.
Luke just brought me a beer. Thanks.
But I'm just a quick. That was a quick example. But hearing now so many pieces of music, so-called new tracks that are just. There's beyond kind of creating the original and mimicking it to directly copying it, you know, in its style and function, and that's what songs are doing now. They very kind of prescribe, whereas tunes before are a bit more kind of.
What about our music? We're not doing the same thing? Because couldn't people look at our music and go, that's a really 70s tune, or it goes back to the 60s? I want to tell you this.
But that's drawing on images. That's not playing you a rehashed version of.
Yeah, exactly. And it's more, okay, here's two things I want to say. One is that I was reading a recent interview in Rolling Stone with Frances Cobain. Is that her name? I think it is Frances, the daughter of Kurt Cobain.
Mm-hmm.
And she was saying that she doesn't listen much to her father's music, although she appreciates it, but she doesn't listen to it. There may be reasons for that, but it's not her thing. But she listens to another band, which is one of my favorite bands, which I was very gratified to hear, which is the Brian Jonestown Massacre, which I think is a great band. I think it's the best band playing, pound for pound, and music for music. The best band that there is in the world that's true to its sound. And they still play festivals everywhere. They live in Berlin now. They did the famous documentary called Dig with the Dandy Warhols, which traced their early history.
Right.
Which is, I think, at least at the top of rock and roll documentaries. If not, it's almost a mockumentary because of the way they act. And she said, not only does she like this band, which is going back to and doing the 60s influence, but more so than Oasis was like a bland copy. They go back and they reinvent the 60s and they do it.
Yeah.
Album after album. I don't know, Brian Jonestown Massacre, check it out, folks. Because the Brian Jonestown Massacre has like 15 albums that they've always released.
Yeah.
A lot of them they released themselves, they produced themselves. They had a lot of fights. Check out the documentary Dig as well. A lot of you will know it. But I think it's, with all its excesses and everything, it's a great documentary about rock and roll. But the Brian Jonestown Massacre steals it from the Dandy Warhols, who did much better commercially. Including that song Like a Bohemian, which was a commercial, I think.
Again, that's just right.
They made
That's
a few
just
$1 million
how-
off the commercial.
But that's just how it always works. You're always going to have kind of the.
How it
The A and
always
the
works?
B
It
mix,
doesn't
you know,
always work, but it worked in this case.
But
But
it's-
my point was different. My point was she likes that music. She gets it. And I like it. And I'm a lot older than she is. And my father wasn't in Nirvana.
Yeah.
So that is really an interesting statement. And also she said, my favorite writer is Henry Miller. And you know what? I don't see a lot of difference between liking those two. It's very bohemian. Because even though Dandy Warhols did the song Like a Bohemian or whatever it was.
Bohemian like you.
Yeah, I'm a Bohemian like you. Yeah, thanks. I think that the Dandy Warhols are not nearly that, the way Brian Jonestown is, and they still play all the time. And where are the Dandy Warhols? They don't play anymore.
Well,
I'm not in all those. I mean, Brian Jonestown Massacre appears,
yeah.
and people listening know this. They appear in all the festivals all around the world. They play in Japan, they play China, they play in Glastonbury. They play all these festivals, and they're great. And even Kurt Cobain's daughter says they're great. And it goes back to that origin of music, which is kind of the same music that the Hurrah was doing, your band.
I guess so.
And kind of the music we play.
It's kind of
Let's
different
face it.
Yeah. Like I say, which is for me more, feels more relevant, you know.
Why does it feel more relevant? It is, but why?
We live and go through moments. This is going to sound really, I'm going to sound awfully pretentious about it now. But we kind of
Well,
go
you
through
are pretentious, Eddie. You're
What?
British. With your bloody accent.
But we go through.
You sound like Margaret Thatcher now. We have had a child. I remember that famous thing. That she made. We have had a child. So like she's the queen. You know? People forget how mad she was at the end. Yeah.
She was pretty insane at the beginning too. If you know.
Well, at the end, she was totally mad. People forget that she was totally crazy.
She wasn't especially popular before she was prime minister. That was the bit that always.
No, but
You win a war and that's
She
what
went
happens.
totally mad.
Yeah. No, this is before she was even
The
prime
Falklands
minister.
was early. Yeah. And her tenure, if we like. 82
Well, that
or
was,
something.
yeah, that was perfect timing for an election, wasn't it?
Exactly.
But go back to your point.
Well, that's just how you. But at those times, 80s through 90s through now, the progression is.
What is
how
now?
It is, you know.
What does now mean?
Now
Where is the
should-
good music now?
I'm too old to say. I'm not. I'm going to.
Well, like Frances Cobain, she said the good music is is not the Dandy Warhols, but the Brian Jonestown Massacre, who are doing the synthesis.
That can be a kind of a media darling thing, though, can't it? To be cool to.
I don't
go
think so.
left
I don't
field.
think she's I think when you have. Wait a second. I'm going to defend her now.
I'm not attacking.
I'm going
her
to defend
either.
her now. No, because you said media darling. I don't think that's true. I think it's unfair. I think she could say anything she wants. And she produced the new documentary about her father. She produced it, not her mother. She produced it. And her mother's in it.
But you could
And
just
everybody
say,
knows the new Kurt Cobain documentary.
And they're releasing a new one as well now. With
Is there another one now?
Yeah, they're interviewing the investigators
This is Mike. He's chiming. Good.
of the
Chime in, Mike.
of his suicide, and I think they're just jumping on the bandwagon of the anniversary of his death and everything. But apparently, I saw it on IMDb today.
Which is, no, I thought it was last year. Is it now?
Well, it was
It was 94. I mean, it would have been. He
Last
died in
year.
1994.
yeah, but I mean the movie's just premiered.
Well, the
Yeah,
one
yeah,
his
yeah.
daughter produced.
Yeah, and then the new ones that's coming out is they're
Yeah.
going over again, and they're trying
But my point is,
Sorry.
people, my point is that her father's been dead 20 years. She produced a documentary about it, and she's saying, I like the Brian Jonestown Massacre, not my father's band. And I like Henry Miller. So this is a bridge. She's saying, I like shit that's good. I like shit that's real and emotional. I like to read a book about a guy who says, I fucked her so hard that, it made stars come out of her brain, And I like music which is about real people on an ensemble, live. They're better live than they are on a recording. And I think that's an important point. And it comes from her, not from me.
I think she took a step away from it and let the director take the lead.
Well,
It
the
was
film
very-
about her
yeah.
father.
Yeah, it was a very personal.
But she
film,
gave a
yeah.
Rolling Stone interview where she said what I'm saying,
Yeah.
which is totally different.
And
And she could have just taken the opportunity, like a lot of these Hollywood's kids, to say, my father, what a wonderful guy. And she says, I don't really listen to his music. I appreciate it. But I like these guys better. And I think this is a really important distinction. Coming from a star child of who's like the biggest, she's like the biggest kid. It's like being John Lennon's kid. And she's much more vocal and much more intelligent than any of them. And I would love to meet her because I think she's great.
Speaking of
Based on
Talking of the-
what she's saying.
talking of the classic analog versus digital now age, fantastic documentary, Sound City. It was done by Dave Grohl. He bought the studio, which had like one of three in the world giant audio recording. That's what they filmed, recorded all of Nirvana's early tracks on. It came out a couple of years ago. Brilliant documentary to watch as well. In terms of that, he bought the whole studio out and created a whole album with some of the greatest musicians of the time right now. So he's made the album's got like Elton John on it, him on it, lead singer from Queens of the Stone Age, Trent Reznor, on and on. It's a really cool film.
Listen, we got our friend here from Mauritius, our friend Stefano. Stefano, come and join us. He's been sitting on the sofa over there, and he's going to join us.
You can join on the interrogation table.
No, sit down, sit down.
Sit down.
Don't
sit
leave
down.
anywhere.
I stole your beer. I'm really sorry. I
No, no problem. No problem.
Inter-
But I kept it after I
I-
realized.
I didn't think
I
this
saw you
was
doing that. I
an
said,
interrogation.
No problem.
It's
I
just
didn't
like,
take much of it, so if you want.
No, you thought that I'm a musician. I play,
Oh, yeah.
I play guitar. No. I'm not a guitarist.
You don't play guitar?
No, I don't play any instrument. I can just play some small percussions, and I can sing.
Well, take
Great,
these
nice
drums. Take these drums, yeah. And give 80 the guitar. Yeah, come on.
No, not at the moment, man. I'm
Come
not.
on, Eddie. In Polish, it's easy. It's idur evlu.
You can play. Yeah, go for it. She's into you.
Yeah.
Anyway, Stefano is with us now, and Stefano is from Mauritius, yeah?
Yeah.
And let me describe Stefano to you. Stefano, he looks like a Rastafarian, so if you didn't know him, you'd think he's from Jamaica. But he's from Mauritius, which is way out in the Indian Ocean. Where is Mauritius exactly?
It's in the Indian Ocean, like you say. And it's in the middle. South Africa, Madagascar, Mauritius is just down here. If you look on Google
It's
Maps,
near South Africa.
we're too tiny, it's a very small point, so you have to just open your eyes. There's lots of islands, there's Seychelles, Como, Mauritius, Reunion Island, Rodrigues, Agalega, and a place that you will love, it's called Diego Garcia.
Diego Garcia? Where's that, man?
This is in the Indian Ocean, man. It's a military base for the United Kingdom
Listen, we have 150 military bases.
and for the US.
We, not me, but the American government has 150
and
military bases throughout the world.
all these islands are together, and we are not well known because it's not easy. We are too small. We're very small.
Okay, somebody's rolling a joint now, I think. Yeah. But that's not up to me. Yeah. I don't understand drugs. It's like, yeah.
You don't need to.
Understand?
You don't need to.
Do you have the same Rasta culture? Because you have Rastafarian here. Do you have the same Rasta culture in Mauritius, like from Jamaica? Is it like inherited from island people?
Of course.
It's inherited from island. Tell us about that.
Of course, come directly from slavery. Of course, man. Because
Tell us about that.
actually, I have dreadlocks.
I know you.
But, all my life, I wanted to have dreadlocks, but not to be a Rastafarian. It's different. But I read books about Rastafarians. I read books about dreadlocks. And all
What
this
do dreadlocks mean? If you have
Dreadlocks.
dreadlocks, to me, it's a Rastafarian. What does it mean to you from Mauritius? Totally different part of the world.
Dreadlocks means a lot for Bob Marley was our king, you know. Bob Marley with dreadlocks.
He's Jamaican.
Of course, because we got roots from everywhere. Because people said that slavery come from Africa, from that. Maybe we never know. There's some,
But there were slaves in Mauritius,
of course.
taken there by colonials.
Yeah.
Which colonials? The Dutch or the French? French.
The Dutch, the French, and the British.
Eventually the British.
But the British did not. I don't think that the British brought some because.
I think it was
already
over by
slavery.
then, by the time they
It was
took
already-
over.
No. It was
Yeah.
still on slavery. Yeah.
Yeah.
After the British came.
When was slavery stopped in Mauritius?
I don't know, man. It's too.
Because the British stopped slavery in the late 1800s.
Yeah. We just have. I think around, if I don't forget, it's around 160 or 170 years of abolition of slavery. So it's not much. And Mauritius, you know, but we have a culture in Mauritius that we live in a multicultural country, which is very great. That we have Hindu, Muslim, Indian, white, black, living all together.
And you have a mixture of music
Yeah.
there, yeah?
Yeah.
Of all those different cultures.
Yeah.
Because
Cultures-
if I say Ravi Shankar to you, you know exactly who I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, of course.
The great Indian sitarist who influenced the Beatles and Rolling Stones and all these great bands, who only died a few years ago. I think he had a daughter, Nora Jones, huh? who's a famous singer. Yeah.
That's the point, because we saw maybe he had come to Mauritius for concert also and things like that.
Uh,
And actually I discovered singing, music, being little part in deep in music when I'm in Warsaw. Because
Really?
before it
in
was
Warsaw,
of
you
course.
start to understand.
Yeah.
English. Do you like rock and roll music? Because a lot of
it's
it-
depend
it's
what kind of
different,
rock
yeah.
and roll and also point. If I will tell you, for example, I like guys like Pearl Jam, it's rock and roll? No.
it's not to you. It's not rock and roll to you.
I like.
What
all
is it
music.
to you? It's not
For
rock
me,
and roll.
For me,
Is it
music,
blues music or
rock,
what is it?
No, it's rock.
Yeah,
Because
it's blues based.
It's depend. And
Yeah.
I love music. It's only my ears has to love it. If my ears is loving it, everything will be fine. If my ears,
Can you do a song with your drum?
it's not my drum. It's actually your drum.
It's my drum, but can you do a song with a drum? Can you sing something a cappella with a drum?
I can say. No
Please
problem.
try.
I will try.
Or no, try, but do it.
I
I know you can.
will just try to sing a song from my country. So it's simple.
Please do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have to think about it, you know, just 1 second. Let me take a breath. You
No
know,
problem, my friend.
just sing a nice one for
It is not a
Oh.
test.
why not singing something for you?
Yeah, man. was beautiful, man. That was so good, man. Now our audience here, they enjoy that. Yeah.
Huh?
Dude, Stefano, that's great. What were you saying though? Because we don't speak the Mauritian, obviously.
Yeah, I was just telling that I was having a nice time with you here with you.
Did you make that up? What you were saying? Or was that traditional song?
And then there was some point that I was singing Estrella. It's just that's it.
80, come on back, dude. Bring the guitar.
I want my cigarette.
I'm not playing the guitar.
80, put your guitar up because the 80 plays a good guitar. Play this guitar, and we'll do something together.
No, like I said before, I would like to spend a little time.
Ah, okay. If you don't want to play the guitar, you can play the djembe.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, play the
I heard
drum.
about that. Is it?
Yeah,
fun?
you get-
Come on, Will. You don't need the guitar. You forgot about that.
This is 80 now. This is 80 now. All I need to do is say, 80, can you play them? These are my drums I bought in India. Okay, Stefano, come back and sing with these drums, can you?
Just need to play. I will listen.
to me. You be free. Come on, people, know what I mean. Listen to the beat, will set you free. Will set you free. Thank you very much. I hope we passed the audition.
Here's my clip from our latest album.
80. We finally got you with an instrument you can play, the drums.
Yeah.
Now you're too shy to play the guitar. You play the guitar really well.
Thank you very much. I mean, thank you very much. It's, you know, I think a lot of guys with guitars can get really insecure. I'm absolutely not insecure at all. Rephrase.
With the drum.
Well, even with the guitar, I'll record with it. I love playing it, but I still haven't got over that hill yet that says I can play guitar in front of folk. You know.
We'll bring him back with a recording shortly. We'll take a break and bring him back
Well, yeah.
with a recording, which we know we can edit.
Well,
Thank you, Stefano. That was
Welcome,
beautiful,
man.
man.
Welcome.
That was good stuff. Yeah. Podcast. This is like we've done the second podcast. This is it. 80 will come back. He will play the guitar, probably, or drums, or something else. We'll have Stefano back. We're just starting. There's going to be a lot of stuff happening, and friends come in and out. This is like a blues session where people walk in and out, and we talk about some stuff. We didn't talk about politics. We didn't talk about philosophy. We didn't talk about anything important except stuff we like, and the rest of you can read about in the newspaper. I don't know, we can talk about sport, or we can talk about yeah.
And mainly about something important in life is music.
Music.
And we make music, we don't make war.
As Stefano says, make music and you won't make war, and he's right. And I often thought, you know, when we were doing these bombings of all these countries, I'm not we, but I'm American, with a British, you know, thing going on, you know. But the thing is that I was thinking back, you know, if we could just drop parachute rock and roll bands into these countries, or blues bands or reggae bands into these countries, and entertain the people, that it would be something that could make a difference. Well, okay, we talked about music a little bit. We'll do it some more in the future. But this is it for this one. I want to thank 80 for coming around. 80 Evans, who is even a better musician than you know. We're not.
Let's keep it that way.
We're not in a studio, so he's a little shy. But we got some great music thanks to Stefano from Mauritius there at the end, and some great playing on the drums from both of them, and a little bit of singing. So my name's Will. Thanks for listening. Stay tuned for the next podcast. We promise more adventure. The only thing we can promise you is adventure.